still the same as they've been for the past 3 days, guys. So steps 1 is to factor out the b, or step 0, I should say. Step 1 is to find a and k. And then remember, after we find a and k, it is going to be working on the period, and that is always 2 pi times the reciprocal of b. And then after that, we always take our period and we divide it into fourths. And do you know why we do that? Just because we follow whatever the math teacher says. Look, guys, over here. We have 5 tick marks on every time that we do this, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant points on the unit circle. We already have the first tick mark that comes from the equation. We needed 4 more tick marks to complete the significant points for these inputs and outputs from the unit circle. That's why we cut it into fourths, not because it's from some magical math cloud. All right, after that, it's still the same, y'all. We are going to draw this shape, and where it starts in parentheses. All right, here's your 2 additional things. Midline points that come from the k value, midline points, are asymptotes. And I ran out of room, but I really wanted to write an S right there because there's more than one. So if you are somebody that highlights significant things in your notes, I would highlight that. That's brand new. Also, highs and lows are branches. It's not too bad as long as you're super comfortable knowing the shapes of sine and the shapes of cosine. If you know those shapes like I asked you to memorize, you are going to be smooth sailing today. Here we go. Let's get started. Let's do example 1. We're going to do a cosecant graph first. All right, so 4 cosecant in parentheses 3x minus 3 pi. All right, guys, let's go ahead and factor out that b value. All right, now we're rolling a and k. Your a, your amplitude is 4. Your k value, there's nothing written there. What number means nothing? Your midline is 0 for this first example. All right, next step, let's work on finding that period. So it's going to be 2 pi times 1/3. So our period is 2 pi over 3. And then we got to break that up to represent the 4 significant points on the unit circle. So let's go ahead and multiply by 1/4. So we're going to get 2 pi over 12. We got to simplify that though. So pi over 6 is our spacing for our tick marks. All right. Next step is still the same. We're going to draw the shape of the graph. We're going to draw the shape of the main graph. Yeah, what is cosecant the reciprocal of? One more time. So we're going to draw the shape of sine. So remember, sine starts in the middle. It's going to go up because it's not reflected. And then it stops in the middle. Now let's write where sine starts. What is the phase shift? What goes here? Positive pi. And remember, sine always starts in the middle. So we know the midline is 0. So now we have our starting point. So here's what's going to happen, guys. We are going to draw the skeleton for a sine graph. But before we do that, 3 horizontal lines, the middle, the top, and the bottom.
So the midline is 0. Y'all, that's the x-axis. So that's going to be a solid line. When it's 0, it's a solid line. Using my amplitude, 4 places above that is the highest the graph goes. This is going to be positive 4. Using the amplitude, below the midline is going to be the lowest that it goes. And I know the graph starts at pi. And I know it starts on 0, but let's just focus on our tick marks. So there's the beginning. I got to draw 4 additional to represent each piece. All right, here we go. That was a whole number. What goes here, y'all? 7 pi over 6. Now start telling me the clean versions. What's next? 4 pi over 3. What's the next one? Maggie, what's the last one? Good job. All right, here's where the fun begins because we're drawing a skeleton. So there's our tick marks. We're going to draw the skeleton of sine, open circles. So sine starts in the middle, open circle. Then it goes up, open circle. Then it goes to the middle, open circle. Bottoms out at 3 pi over 2. Sine always ends in the middle. Open circles is the key. Now listen, everything you drew at the top, those get colored in. So I drew one circle at the top that gets colored in. Everything I drew at the bottom gets colored in. But right here, all the points on the middle are asymptotes because that's where it's undefined. So grab your red pen because you have 3 vertical asymptotes. And guys, you know it's not like required, but if you have it handy, just use it. If it's at the bottom of your backpack, don't worry about it. All right, so this is where you wrote undefined on your graph, guys. Cosecant is undefined at 0. You should have undefined for your answer on that. Okay, so now we're going to draw the branches. Guys, here's basically what's happening. I don't know if you can visualize this. But reciprocals, so there's sine, here's sine wave. A reciprocal is literally turning it inside out, like you turn a shirt inside out. But they share the high and the low point, and you have asymptotes. So that high point is a branch, and it hugs the asymptote. You have another point that it shares with sine down here. This is the same value. It hugs the asymptotes. And that's going to be the shape of that graph. So guys, cosecant is going to have things that look like that. This is kind of the shape for it. 2 branches. It could be reflected. The first one could be going down, but that's the general shape of a cosecant function.